Hi, it's Maestra Macias again. I wanted to read you this book about biodiversity. This is the topic that we were learning about in science. If you have a notebook, go ahead and grab it and write notes as I read. Maybe this will help you with your science homework. Also, feel free to stop the video whenever you need to if you're writing something down, okay? Let's start with the table of contents. Chapter 1. What is biodiversity? Chapter 2. Biodiversity in Earth's biomes. Chapter 3. Web of Life. Chapter 4. Importance of biodiversity. Chapter 5. Threats to biodiversity. Chapter 6. Studying biodiversity. Chapter 7. Protecting biodiversity. Glossary. Index. Okay, so maybe some of you are asking yourselves, what is biodiversity? So let's start with Chapter 1. What is biodiversity? Did you know that scientists have identified more than 1.7 million species living on Earth? There are insects, plants, fish, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and mammals living on the land, in the air, and in the water. And those are just the ones you can see. There are also millions of microorganisms that live all around us that you can't see. Toucan, bromeliad. Rainforests hold some of the richest and most diverse ecosystems in the world. More than half of the world's plants and animal species live in the rainforest. So what are your thoughts? What is biodiversity? I'm thinking diversity means different. So there's many different species or animals in our world. Okay, so we'll keep reading to learn a little bit more. That's not all. Scientists believe that there are millions more living on Earth that have not been discovered yet. That's a lot of living things. Biodiversity is a simple idea. It is the enormous variety of life on Earth. It includes all of the plants, animals, fungi, and other living things in an area. This life is interconnected, like pieces of a puzzle. Red-eyed tree frog, sundry plants. So go ahead and pause the video and think, or reread if it helps. Think, what is biodiversity? Okay, so as we read more, we're discovering that biodiversity means all the different life on Earth. So it can be plants, animals, fungi, and any other living things on Earth. All those different things on Earth are considered diverse, which means different. An easy way to measure biodiversity is to count the number of species in an area. Scientists classify similar living things in groups called species. For example, horses, ladybugs, and roses are all different species. Areas with a large number of different species have high biodiversity. High biodiversity. What I'm understanding from that is that areas where there are different lives, different types of animals, they have high, that means a large number of different types of species, which makes it high biodiversity. While quarter horses, ladybugs, and water lilies live and grow in the same area, each belong to a different species. Ladybugs, quarter horses, water lilies. They all belong to different type of species, right? A ladybug is not the same as a horse, and water lilies are not the same as ladybugs or horses. They're plants. Another type of biodiversity is an organism's genes. The cells of all living organisms have genes. Genes hold the instructions that decide what the organism looks like and how it works. Every species has different genes. That is what makes a tree different from a horse. Did you know some living things in the same species have genes that make them different? For example, poodles, retrievers, and boxers are all dogs. The difference in their genes creates different types of dogs. Interesting. So this is a poodle, this is a boxer, and this is a retriever. They are all dogs, but there are different types of dogs, different breeds. Okay, so we know that they are all dogs, but their genes make them different, right? A poodle is different from a boxer, a retriever is different from a boxer poodle. So their genes make them different, but they do all belong to the same species, which is dogs. Biodiversity can also be the variety of ecosystems where organisms live. An ecosystem is a community of living things and their physical environment. Coral reefs, wetlands, deserts, and forests are examples of ecosystems. The animals, plants, and other living things on Earth live in different ecosystems. Name the ecosystem What kinds of animals live here? Forest, wetland, desert. Maybe you already have an idea of what type of animals live in those different ecosystems. Go ahead and pause the video and think. What are some animals that live in forests? What are some animals that live in wetlands? What are some animals that live in deserts? Each place has its own characteristics and climate. Is it hot or cold? Is it wet or dry? The climate of each ecosystem affects its biodiversity. Together, the variety of species, genes, and ecosystems make up Earth's biodiversity. Did you know the largest living organism on Earth is a coral reef called the Great Barrier Reef of Australia? So now we learned that each ecosystem has its specific climate. So we know deserts can be very dry, hot, and then we know wetlands, they're very wet. Many animals that prefer moist areas, such as frogs, will prefer to live on a wetland rather than living in a hot desert, right? So that determines what type of life can survive and live in the different ecosystems. Okay, so I'm wrapping it up with chapter 1, and then tomorrow I can continue chapter 2. That way you learn more about biodiversity. Hope that you're writing notes as you read, and hope that you are thinking as I read. That way you learn more about biodiversity. If you have any questions, write them in the comments section. That way I can answer them. Okay, bye.